Hi, my name is Rick Bloodworth. This is the Common Sense Christian Financial Channel, and today I want to talk about what's going on in the silver market in a way that maybe will help us to make some prudent decisions if you've bought silver in the past or if you're thinking about buying it right now. Right now, silver is at an all-time high. It's at $52 an ounce. As I'm recording this, on the futures market, it's actually a little bit lower than that, under $51 an ounce, which is very unusual. Usually silver markets go in a pattern called contango, where the farther you go out as far as your futures investments, the more expensive the silver costs. But right now, the spot price, the price you'd have to pay today, is actually more expensive than the futures price, the price you'd have to pay tomorrow. So the silver market right now is a little bit upside down from what it usually is, and it could get even more upside down as time goes by. So I wanted to talk about some of the things that are going on. If you're wondering why I'm talking about this on a Christian channel, I do that because part of the investments that I think that we need to be considering are investments that will hold their value. Christians have a responsibility towards stewardship. We're going to give an answer to God for the way that we handle all of our resources, including our money. And one of the ways that we can handle our money, I believe, in a prudent fashion, is to put some of our savings aside into something other than just the stock market or a savings account or something like that. And I like silver. I've been investing in silver now for, I guess about 44 years. I first started investing when I was in college in 1981. And I've invested in a lot of different ways, from stocks to physical products that you can hold in your hand to futures contracts. And so I've been involved with this for a long time, and I've seen a lot of different wild gyrations that the market has taken. But the one thing I have noticed through the years is that when you put your money into some sort of commodity like silver or gold or platinum or some other precious metal, it typically through the years will advance at least at the rate of inflation, and usually much more than the rate of inflation. For example, when I was a little boy, you could buy a gallon of gas for 20 cents. You could take those 2 silver dimes and you could use them to buy a gallon of gas. Well, today, in today's market, 2 silver dimes are worth much closer to $7 in value. You could buy 2 or 3 gallons of gas for that amount, depending on where you live. And so it not only has silver kept its value, you can still buy the same thing with the silver dimes you had in 1960 as you can in 2025, but very often it increases in its value. And so it's just one method of hanging on to your wealth in a prudent way. If you'd like to go back and see some of the videos I've done in the past, I started out on my Common Sense Christian channel with a financial page. You can go to that Common Sense Christian channel and look at the financial playlist, and you can go back in time and you can see various articles on that. I think I did one about a little over a year ago in May of 2024 that was called Wealth Insurance, and I discussed the idea of putting part of your money, part of your currency, your dollars, into something that's more tangible like silver or gold as a way of trying to hang on to the value of that money. And since that time, silver's done very well. I did another video, Lessons from a 40-Year Silver Investor, on this Common Sense Christian Financial channel that you can go back and look at. And that was in May of this year. I believe silver was about $33 an ounce back then. So silver has obviously had some pretty significant moves, rare even for silver. And a lot of people have a question, what do I do? Maybe you've already accumulated a certain amount of silver and you're wondering, should I take profit or should I hang on to it all and wait for it to go up more? And I guess the answer to that is, what do you want to do? Do you want to go ahead and take a little bit of the profit that you've made out and use it for something prudent? Or maybe just stick it in your savings account with the idea that maybe silver's going to go down and you can buy it back at a cheaper price later on. That's not a terrible investment strategy, although it's kind of anathema amongst those who invest in precious metals, because they always think that precious metals will only go in one direction. But if you've already made some profit, one of the rules of thumb in any investment, whether we're talking about the stock market or bonds or something like a commodity such as silver or gold, a rule of thumb, a good rule of thumb, is to take part of your profits off of the table. That way you've realized a gain and you can buy back later if it should go down. If your investment continues to go up, well, you don't have a lot to cry about because you've still got a significant portion of your holdings left that you haven't sold yet. So if you've got a lot and you want to take a little profit off the table, now might be a good time to do that. Might be a terrible time, who knows? Nobody really has a crystal ball on that. But again, the reason we invest in commodities that are tangible, that are hard, that you can hold in your hand, precious metals, is because they do tend to maintain their value through the years, and at certain times they have pretty good profit potential on top of maintaining your purchasing power. And so that's one area. Now, for those who are thinking about investing in silver or gold, a lot of people are seeing it on the news that they're at record all-time highs, and there becomes a fear of missing out. You see your investment that you've been doing on the stock market or Bitcoin or whatever it is isn't maybe doing as well as it had been, but you see these great gains being accomplished in the precious metals market. What do? Well, again, that's going to depend on your own circumstances, and nobody can really tell you what to do. You have to decide for yourself. But one of the things I would encourage you to do, if it were me, is that I wouldn't put all my eggs in one basket to where I sold out of this and bought completely into something else. And so should you sell all your profits from all your stocks and take all those profits and put them into precious metals? I don't know that that's a great idea. I don't know that it's a bad idea either, but if you're thinking about just getting into the precious metals market, my encouragement to you is to take it slow and easy. Don't get caught up in this fear of missing out. There's always times within any investment vehicle that things look like they're going good and they'll never go bad again, only to come crashing back to reality later on. And at that point, a lot of people who got in at the top sell out at the bottom, and they walk away thinking, I'll never do that again, and they don't. The problem is they never do it again to the point where they can take advantage and actually make a profit. Mark Twain pointed out something about a hot stove and a cat one time that I think applies pretty good to investments. He said, a cat, once it sits on a hot stove, will never sit on a hot stove again, but it'll never sit on a cold one either. Sometimes when people get burned by investments, they never go back. What we need to do is we need to look into them first to try and get some advice from as many expert sources as we possibly can, to study the market for a while and obtain a certain amount of expertise for ourselves, and then start dipping your toe into it. I've always liked dollar cost averaging, where you set aside a certain amount of money each month for whatever investment you've chosen. Let's say you've got a couple $100 that you can put into investment for silver. Well, what you can do is you can just buy whatever amount that $200 will buy you today. That'll probably be a little less than 4 ounces of silver. And this month you buy a little less than 4 ounces of silver. If it goes up on a continual basis, you'll be buying a little less each month with that same $200, but you'll be steadily accumulating and you'll be making profits from what you've already purchased. But if it goes down, sometimes that's when your best profits occur, because now next month maybe it's $40 an ounce and you can buy 5 ounces of silver for that same $200. It's just been a little over a year and a half ago that silver was at $25 an ounce, half of what it is today. And at $25 an ounce, you can buy twice the amount of silver that you can in today's market. And so if you dollar cost average If you just decide, I want to get into this, but I want to do it in a reasonable fashion, well, just start by dollar cost averaging. It takes a while, but anything that's worthwhile in life usually does. It's going to take some time for you to get the proper knowledge. It'd be good to research different companies online and in your locality. Maybe you've got a big coin shop or something in your locality, and you can start comparing prices as far as what they buy for as opposed to what they're selling it for. And you can see what their margin is, and you can deal with the people who have the smallest margin. In other words, they buy it back at a lot closer price than what you purchased it at, and that becomes very important in this type of a market. But again, for those of you who are more experienced investors and you have been waiting for this moment for years, silver has finally reached all-time highs. When you think about it, it really hadn't. When silver got up to $50 an ounce for a day or two in 1980, you could buy an awful lot more with $50 in 1980. As a matter of fact, in 1980, you could buy a decent new car for about $4,000. That same new car today would probably cost you $40,000 plus. And so our cost of living has gone up by a factor of about 10. And so an inflation-adjusted high for silver wouldn't be $50. It would be much closer to $500. Silver went up again to $50 in 2011 or 2012. I can't remember exactly which one. Since then, inflation has continued through the years, and so you might be able to buy maybe 2/3 or 3/4 of what you could with $1 in 2011 as opposed to 2025. And so a much more reasonable inflation-adjusted high for the 2011-2012 price might be much closer to $75 or $80. And so these are the kind of things that you want to be taking some thought towards, because silver really hasn't reached an all-time high. It has nominally as far as the dollar amount, but as far as what those dollars can buy, it's nowhere close. And so if you're a long-term investor, again, might not hurt to take a little profit off the table. I've certainly done that in my own life. I have a schedule that I've made years ago that when I make a certain amount of profit, I sell a certain amount of what I've bought, and I let the rest just ride. I leave it as a long-term investment. And so that may be something you want to be thinking about right now. I wouldn't take my life savings and pour it into silver or gold right now. You might be vastly disappointed. You might not, but it is something of a gamble. My encouragement to you is to be prudent, and my main encouragement to you is to behave as a Christian should behave and have the proper perspective. If you've just tuned into this for the silver part, this is probably a great place to tune out, but there's a couple of passages that I want to call to your attention before we close for the rest of you. It's found in Proverbs chapter 3, and it starts in verse 11. It says, "Blessed is the man who finds wisdom, the man who gains understanding, for she is more profitable than silver and yields better returns than gold." Our real treasure is in the things of God. It's in His Word. It's the way we use His Word. If you're investing in things that are doing well now, such as silver or gold, good for you. But don't lose your perspective. You're just here for a while, but you're going to have an eternity somewhere else. If you get too caught up with the physical now, if you get too caught up in the highs and the lows and the euphorias and the depressions of the financial world, you're just going to be on a yo-yo all your life. But if you're looking at your investments, whatever they are, just as a prudent part of your stewardship to God, with an intention to use whatever you have to the best of your ability in His service, it's certainly okay to enjoy it, don't get me wrong, but we're still looking at what we have to be used in His service. And so keep that in mind, and remember, wisdom is far better than anything you could make with silver and gold. And this is what it says in chapter 4 of Proverbs. Verse 7, wisdom is supreme, therefore get wisdom. Though it costs you all you have, get understanding. Esteem her, and she will exalt you. Embrace her, and she will honor you. If you and I can do our best to get the knowledge that God has for us in His Word, and pray for wisdom that we can use it to the best of our ability, well, in the long run, that's going to pay a whole lot better dividends than any great investment or any hot investment that you may come across. We're here to serve God and someday to go to heaven and serve Him forever, unless we blow our opportunity now and we focus on just the physical. We have a good life. Part of that good life is being prudent with your finances. It can be rewarding, it can be exciting, it can be a lot of fun, but we never want to lose out on the fact that we're here to serve God. That way, when you make profits, you take it in stride. When you take losses, you take it in stride. You are planning on going to heaven anyway, weren't you? Aren't we all planning on going to the one place that we don't deserve to go? In order to do that, we're going to have to focus on God's things first. The money things that we do, the investments, the silver and gold investments, those are all part of our stewardship. But we're here to serve God. Let's make sure we don't lose sight of what we're here for as we go through our life and try to be the best stewards that we possibly can. I appreciate your tuning in today. I hope this is something that helps you, and I hope we'll see you again next time. God bless.